Hi there, I'm Dr. Michelle Alden, and this is Parenting Challenging Kids. I'm glad to have you here today. Today we're going to be talking about anxiety and stress, both in your kids and in yourself, some practical things that you can do. I don't know how many parents I've talked to that are on anxiety medication, and depression kind of goes hand in hand with that. And some of it is because of all of the stress and pressure that you've been dealing with as a parent, especially if a neurodivergent child or kids with behavior problems, kids that are coming from hard places. It can be very, very difficult on the parents. So I want to talk to you about that, give you some things that can help you, but I also want to have you recognize the anxiety levels in your kids and some things that you can do to help them. And I found that sometimes they go hand in hand. As we are helping someone else through this, we get a lot of help for ourselves. And as a family, we get to practice these things together. And I encourage you to look at it that way, like we're learning this together and we're going to get through this. So just so you know, like with anxiety and panic attacks especially, they don't really know like what causes that. There's not a lot of scientific data about like, a certain things that will cause panic attacks, or why certain people have them, or even if you have them and you think that you can kind of identify your triggers. That's not always true. They can happen very suddenly, and they peak and then they can fade away. Some people kind of have some lingering effects of that for a while. Other people, it's like they can have for a moment and then they move on. Some people have things that last longer. There's some things that you can do or not do that can prolong it too. I just want to give you some tips. And so this is from working with a lot of adults that, as a counselor, that deal with anxiety. And so I want to help you with that. So the first thing is that try talking. Have a family friend, have a friend or a family member or somebody that you can talk to, especially if you start feeling anxious. A lot of times people with anxiety have routine parts of their day that they feel anxious. Like maybe they always feel anxious in the afternoon right before the kids are coming home from school, or maybe it's first thing in the morning. So if you have somebody that you can call and just say or text even first and say, can I give you a call? Having a hard time. And you can just talk. And the thing about talking is you don't even have to talk about what it is that's making you nervous. Like you don't have to go into it. Like if it's, the same thing every day, or it's, you may not even know like why you're feeling that way. You don't have to have a big discussion about it. Just talking to somebody about whatever can help a lot. If you don't have anybody, don't be afraid to talk to yourself. So you can say like, I don't know what's going on today. You're feeling this way, but it's understandable. Like there's been a lot of things, giving yourself that kind of understanding. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. Be easy on yourself and not trying to give yourself a lot of advice. Well, if you would just do X, Y, and Z, because that's might be how you would talk to maybe your sister, but it might not be how you would talk to a friend. So you're going to treat yourself like a friend, and talk yourself through it. Some people it works to journal. Some people it doesn't, so you're going to kind of have some way to get that outside of yourself. And again, you don't even have to focus on that particular thing that it maybe is making you anxious or trying to figure out. Like, I don't know what's making me anxious. But just recognizing like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious, and so I just need to talk. So, and it could be that you just need to vent, and then remember that you might need to even cry, because a lot of times, especially as you're coming out of that feeling, it can be a release of emotion, and you want to have that release. That's part of why talking can be so therapeutic, because, it keeps you from just going inward with it and shutting down, which leads to anxiety and that suppression of feelings. So that's another thing that leads into the breathing. Is breathing can be really, really helpful as long as you're not putting a lot of stress on yourself. Like, oh, I should just breathe, why I can't breathe, because you can start to feel like maybe you're breathing more shallow, maybe you're breathing more fast, but just recognizing breathing and then being structured about it. So it's recommended, instead of just telling yourself to breathe or only focusing on breathing, but to breathe in and hold it from anywhere from 4 to 7 seconds, and breathing in that same amount of time. Like you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it, and then breathe out for 4 seconds. 7 is I've also heard 7 recommended. Sometimes you can hold it for 7. So breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, breathe out. Don't make it too complicated, just make it simple. But sometimes just having that structure, because it's like you're telling your brain, I've got this, I know what to do, here's what we're going to do. And that helps your brain to calm down, because remember, your brain is there to keep you alive, and it's also to warn you about danger. So whatever's going on inside of you that you're feeling is coming from some thoughts that you might not be aware of, but your brain is telling you, like, this is scary. So when you can take charge and be like, it's scary, but it's not dangerous, and so here's what we're going to do. Right now we're going to focus on breathing. That's another thing that can really help, is to focus on routines. So if you're one of those people that wakes up and you just feel kind of anxious and you're, stressed about the day, before you make decisions about the day, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to get my clothes ready. I'm going to take a shower, and then I'm going to see how I'm feeling. Then I might need to call somebody, or I might need to, do something else, but I'm going to do these routines. And so just taking charge of yourself can help a lot. And again, you're going to be very positive, and you're not going to be beating yourself like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, just get up and make your bed. It's like, no. Just be kind and develop, like, just like that it's like telling your brain like someone's in charge, because you can't just let it go off by itself. It will do all kinds of crazy things, tell you all kinds of crazy things. You're going to, again, be kind to yourself, and if you can notice where you feel it. So for me, if I'm feeling anxious, I feel it in my chest. So I can put my hands on my chest and be like, oh, this is hard. Of course it is. And I'm feeling anxious, and this is, what I'm feeling. I don't know what it's about, but I'm just acknowledging, like, this is hard. And you can do that even if it's hard what you're dealing with your kids. Like, just like, oh, this is so hard. I know a lot of parents feel really anxious when they take their kids out into public, because they don't know what's going to happen. And so then if something happens, it's like you get more anxious, and then you get kind of edgy with the kids, or, like, just upset, right? And so to calm yourself down, just recognize, like, oh, so hard when the kids do this, but I've got this, I can get through it. And it helps you to kind of focus on you and what you're doing with your kids, and forget about kind of everybody else and what they're doing. Because I think sometimes we think everybody's judging us, but maybe they're not, so we don't know. Remember too that 36% of people with ADHD also struggle with anxiety and kind of pervasive thoughts. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that you have to succumb to it. It's like, well, I just have anxiety because I have ADHD, or I have ADHD and anxiety. It's knowing that, oh, this is how my brain is. It's like overactive. Your brain is like on high alert and overactive. And where you're finally noticing it is in your feelings. Whether you're feeling like you're having a heart attack, or you feel like you can't breathe, or you're feeling overwhelmed or starting to shut down, like, those are all in your feelings, and it's all coming from stuff that your brain is thinking about or telling you about. So as you start to notice that, like, it's kind of like grounding in what the circumstances are. It's like, it's okay. I don't have to figure out what I'm going to do the rest of the day. I just have to know what I'm going to do right now today, or what I'm going to do in this situation. So, I'm looking at my notes. Another thing that can be helpful is to notice. So there's, you can find more information about this, but you can, like, notice 3 objects, 3 sounds, 3 smells. You're going to make 3 movements. Some people say, putting your hands above your head can really help. I like to, like I said, it's almost like a kindness gesture, like, oh, so hard, right? but noticing, getting moving, like I'm gonna walk up and down the hall, I'm gonna put laundry away, I'm gonna do this one thing, can really help. We're just gonna, like if you're going into a store and you're starting to feel panicked or stressed, we're just coming off the holidays, so lots of stress going into places with a lot of people. You can just say, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna go to this section and I'm gonna find the things in this section that I need to find, and if I'm still feeling bad, I'm just gonna leave with those things, rather than feeling like I've got to get through this whole store. Like you can kind of chunk things down for yourself. So yeah, notice what you're feeling and where you're feeling, and remember, a good thing to tell your brain is like, this is scary, but it's not dangerous. I've got this. We've got this. Being calm, and then using kind of short and simple structure things like, okay, I'm just going to do this, or I'm going to do that. So as you can tell, some of these things will carry over to your kids. I want to say first that anxiety in kids can look a lot different than it does in adults. It looks different in adults too. We don't always notice. And then there's some things that we do notice, like adults might be more OCD about things, or just have this different kind of energy about them. Mostly as adults, we start to learn what to do with our anxiety, except for people that get really overwhelmed and shut down, and then they also can't like function in some similar ways our kids are. Our kids are going to be more apt to be impulsive. If they're struggling with anxiety, they're going to be more apt to have like those big rages or meltdowns. And they are going to maybe take more risk-taking behaviors. They may be depressed because anxiety drives depression. So as kids get older, especially, they may have been a really anxious child, and by the time they're teens or preteens, they're kind of more shut down. They close down, they isolate. They may have rigid and inflexible thinking about things. They get locked in on something and they keep asking the same question. Asking questions itself can be a sign of anxiety in kids. Not always, but it can, like, it's kind of filling in the gaps sometimes. Mood changes are noticeable. Oppositional defiance, there's usually a high degree of anxiety. Even grandiose thinking, obsessiveness, and sensory seeking. So I would say that the kids that I work with, 99% of them, if not 100%, have anxiety as well. So when I see a kiddo that just has a diagnosis of oppositional behavior or some kind of conduct disorder, even a mood disorder, I am looking for what else is kind of driving that and how their brain is kind of processing things, because there's something else that's going on. I don't believe that we're just automatically that way, right? So there's something else going on, and I want to help you as a parent to know how to help their brains to work better and how to function better. That's why I do what I do. So if you have specific stuff that you want to help with your kids, you're going to want to contact me to get some coaching on that. If you're having a lot of violence, a lot of these behaviors, oppositional defiance, aggression, meltdowns that are lasting, multiple times a day, lasting anywhere from, 30 minutes on, or they just never really get over it, you're going to want some extra help, because there are so many things that you can do as a parent to help it get better. And even if they're not having these problems at school, or they are, you want it to be better in your home, because you really want to be that solid object for your kids. And if they have a lot of anxiety, we know that anxiety drives depression, and that impulsive behavior with depression it's costly, right? Or it costs our kids lives sometimes. So I want to help you with that. So contact me. Go to parentingchallengingkids.com and go to the Get Started page. Sign up for a free call, and let's get things going here on making that change, because it doesn't have to be this way. It makes me so sad that people wear anxiety and depression like it's a part of who they are, and it's not like it's a coat that can be taken on and off, right? It's like it becomes part of who they are, and then everything else is kind of functioning around that. And that's true when it's happening. I'm not trying to dismiss it or be dismissive about it. It is very challenging, and there are periods of times where it may prevent you from doing things that you want to do, or prevent your kids from being able to function in the way you want them to function. But there are things that we can do to be better, to be able to move forward, to be able to be even, not just surviving, but functional and thriving. So that's what I want for you, and I want for your kids. So if you want that kind of help, please do go to that website and sign up for that consultation. So here's some things that you can do to help your kids. You can validate their feelings. I know that you are upset right now, but I'm here and we're going to get through this. Or I know that you're disappointed and we're going to get through this. And I am, in validating their feelings, I'm really slow in labeling everything as anxiety or depression or some kind of diagnosis. Even if they're being really awful, and calling it oppositional or narcissistic or whatever. I think when we slap these labels on things, it's like it doesn't help us to manage that or help us to move through it. So I want to be really careful that we're labeling a feeling that's behind it. Like maybe they're being oppositional because they're disappointed, or because they're super excited and they don't understand why everything's happening so slow, so we're not trying to eliminate the anxiety. We're actually moving into it. And I think this is really good for you to know for yourself too, is because it becomes all about trying to get rid of it or trying to move away from it, but you're going to kind of look right at it. It's like, and so and how I can manage this. Like, that's why I think it's so important to acknowledge for an adult, like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. Or even if your kid is able to communicate to you, I'm just feeling really anxious about this tryout tomorrow or this test or whatever it is. Let them label it, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to take the test, or that we're not going to go to the tryouts, right? We're going to find a way to get through it. And so it's like, oh, I can understand that. I felt that way before. How can I help you, kind of thing. Most kids are not able to communicate that. The kids I work with anyway, if they were, it would be so much easier. So we're going to be helping them with that. So in helping with that, you don't want to reinforce their fears or their behaviors by leading them into that, right? So are you anxious about the test tomorrow is not as good a question as, tell me how you're feeling. Are you feeling ready? How are you feeling about the tryouts tomorrow? How are you feeling about the basketball game or the drama practice or whatever it is, right? Remember that anxiety in kids and excitement can feel very similar. Actually feels that way for adults too. It's the same kind of chemicals. So we can be excited about something and still be anxious about it, or anxious about something and be excited. And I like to lean more into the excitement piece of it, because I go into it with the mindset of like, of course I'm going to still do my day. Of course I'm going to still try out for this. Of course I'm going to fill out that application or whatever it is, right? Even though it might be hard or challenging. And we want our kids to be able to do that too. We're not eliminating their abilities or making it so that they feel like there's something wrong with them. We're being realistic and positive. So we're not being unrealistic, right? Like we're being realistic, but we're very much in the like, how can I help you through this? What would help right now, right? So working on that piece of it. Don't ask a lot of questions. So if your child starts to act out, or they're having a meltdown, or even if they're telling you that they're anxious, you don't want to start asking like, what can I do to help you? What, do you need this? Do you need that? It's like it can increase the anxiety instead, because their brain's on fire. And if you start asking them what they want, it's like more fuel for the fire. And instead we want to calm them down. So for a child, they need someone to be in charge. Someone knows what to do when they don't know what to do. So it's like, okay, I can tell you're having a hard time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go take a bath, and we're going to see how you feel after that. And then we're going to do this, so just being very direct and calm and the solid object. You can give choices if they're not too high up, but you can see, like, if you give a choice, you can take a bath, or you can come sit with me. And they start like, I don't know, or I want to do this other thing. It's like, I'm going to decide for you right now. I think you need to go take a bath. And so I'm going to go help you get your water ready, or, whatever it is. I'm, talking about little kids, right? So helping them to know what to do, and not reinforcing their fears. Like, oh, it's so scary when this happens, or I bet you're scared to go back to school because of that bully that's there, or remember how you ended the school year, and last year, and this happened and that happened. We don't want to bring in that and put it into this time. Like, there's a proverb that says, don't cast stones on a clear path in front of you. I like how Myron Golden says, why would we assign a level of difficulty to a situation we haven't been in before? And so even if they have been, like, in a difficult school situation, it's like, why are we assuming that it's going to always be difficult for them, or they're never going to be able to work through it, or that these other kids are never going to change, that they're never going to change? So you may have all those thoughts and fears and things yourself, but you've got to work through that to a place where we can move through it. And it's like, even though this happened last time, so you can say something like, last time we went to the grocery store, you guys were running all over. I don't like that. So this time we're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to stand here and hold on to the cart. And if this happens, then we're going to leave. And so you're very clear and direct and calm about it. You're not punishing them for something that they did last time that's already gone, right? And we're not also just expecting that this is how it's going to go. Because I have a lot of parents that's like, well, I can't take them to the grocery store because this is how they're going to act. It's like, oh, so we're never going to go to a grocery store? Then how will they ever learn how to do it correctly? So we have to teach and reteach and help them to do that with the clear understanding that, we can leave. We have lots of resources at our hands. I hate that feeling of feeling stuck. So if you feel stuck, it's like, yeah, I've tried all this and this keeps happening and we're not getting any better, or things are getting worse. Call me, because I really don't want you to feel stuck as a parent, as a person. If you feel stuck in your anxiety and your depression, I don't want that for you. I think there's so much more that we have and can do, and that our families have so much more that can happen together. So please look at the website, parentingchallengingkids.com. I'll put the link below in the notes. And the other thing that you can do is I have a book, Parenting Emotionally Distressed Kids. May help you as well. Maybe you have to parent yourself through some of this stuff, but gives some really good ideas on how to connect with your kids through these hard things, and how to transform from the behaviors you're having now to behaviors that you want to have. So that's another great resource. You can get that on Amazon or anywhere that you order books. I look forward to talking to you more. And don't forget to like and subscribe these videos and tell everybody about it. Send them to your friends. Put it on your Facebook page. I will